This is the main screen of Super Street Fighter 4. It's in the traditional fighting game style of having all your characters lined up at the bottom of the screen, and the main reason it's like this is to enable two fighters to select their character at the same time. This is convenient for an arcade style layout because they want to get people to choose their characters as fast as they possibly can without having to show them separate screens and have them choose separately. When you move around, the character you over is shown on the left, or if you're the player 2, same thing but on the right, and you see you each have your own little indicator of what character is selected at the bottom there. One of the disadvantages to this style of interface is if I want to get right to that girl on the far right there of player 1, I have to hold it down and kind of guess when I should let go. Either that or tap it loads and loads of times to get over there specifically. Like this. The interface isn't overly intuitive. And there's a lot of mistakes that can be made. It's like typing with an on-screen keyboard. You might overshoot it and you have to go back to get to the character you want. Another problem with this interface is that when you selected a character with A, you'll have a choice at the top here of the colour for your character. Now, conveniently, you can see the colour, but you don't see a preview of what that's going to look like on the actual character. Nor with personal action do you get any indication of what's going to happen, or with the win quote. So you need to know before you get into the fight with your chosen character which colour and which quote you're going to choose. And one nice thing about the interface is that both characters can once again choose this at once, and you need to know what move, what ultra combo you're going to choose for that character. So all in all, it's a functional interface, but there are several issues with it. Here we have the character select interface for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. As you can see, all the characters are laid out in the middle, and once again we have previews for the characters that are being selected by both players on either side. If I just press X on both of these controllers. Now, straight away this interface is a little bit more stylized. You'll see that the design of the character select areas on the left and right are based on comic books, and this game is obviously Marvel versus Capcom, so that links quite well. Unfortunately, you only seem to get silhouettes of the character you're putting your pointer over on the side of the screen, and when you do select it, the character will come into colour, which is nice. And then you have to choose your assist, and once again you're given no idea of what these actually do. And what's even worse than that is that you aren't given a choice, an obvious choice on what colour you want that character's costume to appear in and what costume you want to use. Instead, it's purely decided by which button you select the character with. Now, this is probably quite good for people who want to get it done quickly, but what you have to remember is that people who are playing the game for the first time and don't know what colours the characters have available only have one way of doing it, and that is to just press different buttons to test it. So it's not overly intuitive, but it is get-aroundable. You see, I'm pressing different buttons here, and Beautiful Joe keeps appearing in different colours. So it kind of makes sense, but it's not the best interface I've ever used, to be honest. This is the interface, the character selection interface, for BlazBlue Continuum Shift. Now straight away this is something a little bit different. You see, we've got a circular interface going on there, which is quite nice looking, and the same setup where on either side of the screen you can see a preview of what your character is going to look like. You don't actually see the sprites, you see concept character art, which isn't so amazing. But then you know there's a slight issue with the interface, which is that instead of moving around in a logical fashion, you move a pointer around. You see this red pointer over here? You move that with the joystick. Now that's not very intuitive. I mean, that would be okay on a computer using a mouse, but it doesn't make sense to do it like that while you're using a controller. It just seems weird. What makes this interface slightly worse, another note is if you move into the middle, it randomizes like that, which is an interesting idea. What makes this interface worse is that if you use X, which is the, well, at least outside of Japan, that is the standard way to confirm. If you choose X to choose your character, he puts him in an alternate character costume, and every other button gives you an alternate character costume too, apart from Start, which pops up this menu, which will let you select the colour of your character. So that means that every time you want to select a character, you need to press Start and then choose the colour. But new players aren't going to know that, so new players are going to end up using every character with the wrong colour layout on them, which is very strange. So all in all, this interface is really quite clunky indeed. It's easy to get around it, I suppose, and the nice thing about it is you can pop up a menu and choose a colour like that, and there's a lot of colours to choose from. But, you know, there's no previews of characters, it's using a weird pointer style interface which doesn't sit well on a console, and all in all it's just not overly slick. But it is heavily stylised, which is nice. This is the interface that I've based my interface on, and I think integrates all the best features of the fighting game interfaces you've seen so far.
This is my fighting game interface. As you can see, it has a circular design similar to that of BlazBlue Continuum Shift. The red arrow in the middle of the circle represents player 1, and the blue arrow represents player 2. The green areas around the circle represent different characters, and the blue circles around the green area are just for decoration. They keep the menu in motion, which pressures you to make a decision more quickly, as these kinds of menus are usually timed. The arrow is rotated using the left stick. You rotate onto the option you wish to select and press the A button. As the pointer goes over the choices, the character sprite will appear on the left of the screen for player 1 and the right of the screen for player 2. The sprites are not shown in this demo. By pressing A, you advance to the second circle. When you press A, visual feedback is given by way of the piece of the circle you selected flying off and glowing. The next circle is for choosing a costume for your character. The half circle at the top represents the default choice, while the 2 quarter circles at the bottom represent alternative options. They will display pictures representing the different costumes on each part of the circle. At this point, the blue arrow pops up on the character selection circle, and we can see player 2 make their selection simultaneously to player 1. Once player 2 makes his selection, the main character selection circle disappears to leave the 2 costume selection circles. Finally, both characters make their costume selection and the fight begins. This menu is well suited to fighting games played on consoles, because most players will be using a stick to play. There is no possibility of overshooting your movement and flying past the option you wanted to select, and by learning the directions of the items you want beforehand, you can get through the character selection menu with unprecedented speed. More circles could easily be added to cover more options. You could even categorize costumes or moves and choose categories rather than specific items. Then the menu would become like a folder structure. Thank you for watching.